Life has a way of testing the hearts of people. Sometimes the people who sacrifice the most are the ones who get hurt the deepest. But one thing remains certain: God never forgets genuine love, kindness, and sacrifice. Today's story will take you to the busy towns of Anambra State, where a hardworking local mechanic gave up everything just to train the woman he loved in the university. He believed love was enough until success changed her heart completely. What happened after her graduation shocked an entire community and left a painful lesson many people are learning too late. Please watch this story till the end, because the ending carries a powerful message that can change lives, relationships, and destinies. If you are new here, kindly subscribe to this channel, turn on the notification bell, like this video, and share it with your families and friends, because every story here teaches, inspires, and uplifts soul. Welcome to Olu Beauty African Folktales channel. Here we tell you the way it is. Have you subscribed? If not, oh yeah, run kitty kitty, run kata kata. Subscribe, like, comment, and share. Share it with your families and friends. And don't forget to touch the bell button so that you'll be notified each time we put out new video. Oh yeah, grab your popcorn, sit judge, and enjoy yourself. Oh yeah, let's go there. In the busy town of Nkpor, close to Onitsha, in Anambra State, everybody knew one young man called Obinna. Obinna was handsome, tall, hardworking, and respected by many people. Despite being an ordinary local mechanic, his workshop was beside the old third road leading to Upper Iweka. From morning till evening, the sound of spanners, engines, and hammering filled the air around his workshop. But among all the things people knew about Obinna, one thing stood out the most. His heart was pure. At 28 years old, Obinna had already suffered enough in life to understand pain. He lost his father early and trained himself in mechanic work under one strict master in Nnewi before opening his own small workshop. He was not rich, but he was content. Every evening after work, he washed his oily hands, sat outside his workshop, and watched people pass by. That was where he first saw Amaka. The day he saw her, she was carrying a basin of tomatoes on her head while following her mother to the market. Obinna could not remove his eyes from her. Amaka was extremely beautiful. Her chocolate skin glowed under the evening sun, and her calm eyes carried a kind of sadness that made her even more attractive. "Who is that girl?" Obinna asked his apprentice immediately. "That one, na Mama Chinyere's daughter. They are suffering since their father died," the boy replied. Obinna looked again. Something touched his heart. Days later, he intentionally began buying tomatoes from Amaka's mother just to see her. Slowly, friendship started between them. Amaka was quiet and respectful. Unlike many girls in town, she was not proud. One evening, as they walked together after market hours, Obinna asked gently and said, "Amaka, why did you stop school?" The smile on her face disappeared immediately, and she said, "My father died when I finished secondary school," she replied softly. "I passed my WAEC and JAMB very well, but there is no money. My mother is struggling to feed 5 children alone. You can imagine that." Obinna became silent. That night, he could not sleep. The next morning, he drove his old motorcycle straight to Amaka's house. Their house was moderate, but the zinc was old. Her younger brothers were outside fetching water while her mother cooked watery soup with firewood. Obinna sat quietly and watched everything. His heart broke. That evening, he called Amaka outside and he said, "If I sponsor your education, will you go back to school?" Amaka looked at him in shock and said, "Obinna, university is expensive. Oh." "I did not ask whether it is expensive," he replied. "I asked if you will go." Tears gathered in her eyes immediately, and she said, "I will go." And that was how Obinna made the biggest decision of his life. A few months later, Amaka gained admission into the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, to study mass communication. The whole village praised Obinna. Some people mocked him secretly and said, "You want to waste money on woman. After school, she will leave you. Oh. She is too fine for mechanic like you if you don't know." But Obinna ignored everybody. Every school fees, every handout, every hostel payment, every transport fare, Obinna paid for all of them. Sometimes he worked till midnight repairing damaged engines just to send money to Amaka. Sometimes he skipped food so she could buy textbooks. Even his apprentices noticed how hard he struggled. One rainy evening, his closest friend Chinedu confronted him and said, "Obinna, think wisely. Oh. You are building another man's wife if you don't know." Obinna smiled confidently and said, "Ah, no, it's not my Amaka. Amaka is different. She is not like other girls. And truly, at the beginning, Amaka behaved differently. She called him every night. She prayed for him. She told her roommates proudly, saying, "My boyfriend is the reason I am here today." During her second year, Obinna visited her in Nsukka. That day, he wore his best clothes and carried drinks and kola nuts to her lodge. Under a mango tree near the hostel, he held her hand and he said, "Amaka, let us do the introduction and traditional marriage. I do not want anybody to take you away from me." Oh." Amaka laughed softly and said, Obinna, calm down. Let me finish school first. After graduation, I am all yours, okay?" Obinna believed her immediately. After all, love does not suspect evil. Years passed. Amaka changed gradually. At first, the change was small. She stopped calling regularly. Then, she started speaking English with unnecessary accents. Then, she began feeling ashamed whenever her school friends saw Obinna. The first serious sign came during her final year. Obinna visited her unexpectedly one afternoon. As he entered the school compound, wearing his mechanic uniform stained with engine oil, Amaka quickly dragged him behind one building and said, "Why did you come dressed like this?" She whispered angrily. Obinna was confused and said, "This is my work clothes. I came directly from workshop." "You should have changed first. My friends are around. Can't you see? This is a school compound." For the first time in years, Obinna felt pain inside his chest, but he ignored it. He still loved her. Finally, Amaka graduated. Obinna was happier than even her family. During her graduation ceremony, he slaughtered two goats in Nkpor and shared food to neighbors. He thanked God openly and said, "My wife has graduated, oh, hell, at last." Everybody celebrated with him, but unknown to Obinna, another story had already started. During NYSC in Abuja, Amaka met wealthy friends politicians' sons, bankers, and oil company workers. Slowly, she stopped answering Obinna's calls. Sometimes she ignored him for weeks. Whenever he complained, she became angry and she would say, "You do not understand the kind of life I want now. No, you will not." One evening, Obinna traveled all the way from Anambra to Abuja to surprise her. He stood outside her lodge smiling, holding a small carton containing a phone he bought for her after months of hard work. But what he saw shattered his heart completely. A shiny black SUV stopped in front of the lodge. A tall, wealthy man stepped out. Then Amaka came out laughing loudly. The man held her waist comfortably. Obinna froze. The carton fell from his hand. Amaka turned and saw him. Immediately, fear entered her eyes and she said, Obinna. The wealthy man looked at him with disgust and said, "Who is this?" Before Amaka could answer, Obinna spoke calmly and said, "I am the mechanic that trained her in school." Silence. Heavy silence. Then Amaka said the words that destroyed him completely. And she said, "Obinna, please, you need to move on. Please move on." Obinna stared at her like somebody who had just woken from death. And he said, "What do you mean?" Amaka folded her arms and said, "You are a good man, but let us face reality. You are not my class anymore. I cannot marry a local mechanic like you, please." The words entered Obinna's heart like a knife. For some seconds, he could not breathe. After everything, after all the sacrifices, after all the years, this was the reward. Tears gathered in his eyes, but he refused to cry before them. Slowly, he nodded and he said, "So all the promises realized, eh?" Amaka looked away and said, "People change, you know." Obinna bent down quietly, picked the fallen carton from the ground, and handed it to her and said, "I bought this for you." Amaka did not collect it. Obinna smiled painfully and said, "Do not worry. I understand now, okay? Don't worry. I understand fully." Then he turned and walked away. That night, for the first time in many years, Obinna cried like a child. Back in Nkpor, rumors spread quickly. People mocked him openly and said, "We want him." Mechanic fall in love with graduates, love without sense. You can imagine that. For months, Obinna became withdrawn. He stopped laughing. He focused only on work. Then one day, something unexpected happened. A wealthy businessman from Lagos brought a damaged Prado Jeep to his workshop. Other mechanics failed to repair it, but Obinna fixed the engine perfectly. The man was shocked by his intelligence and he said, "What is your educational qualification?" "I stopped at secondary school," Obinna answered. The man stared at him carefully and then said, "You are wasting talent here." That single meeting changed Obinna's life forever. The businessman sponsored him abroad for advanced automobile engineering training in Germany. Within 5 years, Obinna became the owner of one of the biggest automobile diagnostic companies in Lagos. His company handled expensive cars belonging to senators, governors, and celebrities. He became rich, very, very rich, but he remained humble. Meanwhile, life became cruel to Amaka. The wealthy man she abandoned Obinna for eventually married another woman from a rich family. At 35, Amaka was still single. Her younger siblings she once helped began disrespecting her. Her mother fell sick. Jobs became difficult. The beauty she once used to boast started fading gradually. One afternoon in Lagos, fate brought them together again. Amaka entered a luxury automobile company for a job interview. As she waited nervously at the reception, she saw a familiar face walking toward the elevator. She froze immediately. Obinna. But this was no longer the poor mechanic she once rejected. He was now dressed in an expensive suit, surrounded by workers calling him chairman, chairman. Amaka's heart nearly stopped. Their eyes met. For a moment, the whole world became silent. Obinna walked slowly toward her and said, Amaka. Her lips trembled. Obinna, is this your company? Yes. Tears filled her eyes immediately. She remembered everything: the school fees, the hunger, the sacrifices, the love she threw away. And she said, I am sorry, she whispered. Obinna looked at her quietly for some seconds. Then he smiled gently and said, the pain you caused me nearly destroyed me. But today, I thank God for it. Amaka began crying openly and said, can you forgive me? Obinna nodded slowly and said, I forgave you long, long time ago. She looked hopeful immediately, but the next words broke her completely. Forgiveness does not always bring people back together, Obinna told her. At that moment, Amaka realized the painful truth. She did not lose Obinna because he was a mechanic. She lost him because she failed to value genuine love. And sometimes in life, when good people leave your life, they never return the same way again. Thank you for watching. This is where our story ends. But before we round it up, let's look into the moral lessons we pick from this story. This story teaches us that genuine love should never be looked down on because of somebody's present condition. Today's poor man can become tomorrow's great man. Many people are too quick to forget those who stood by them during their lowest moments. They enjoy the sacrifices, but abandon the sacrificer after success comes. But life has a way of rewarding good hearts and humbling pride. Amaka forgot where she was coming from. She allowed education, exposure, and worldly standards to destroy loyalty and gratitude. She judged Obinna by his occupation, forgetting that dignity is not measured by suits, offices, or expensive cars. A hardworking mechanic with a clean heart is far better than a rich person without loyalty or compassion. This story also reminds us never to mock humble beginnings. God can lift anybody at any time. The same people the world rejects today may become the same people the world celebrates tomorrow. Most importantly, let us learn to appreciate people who genuinely help us when we have nothing. Gratitude opens doors, but pride closes destinies. Secondly, never build your future only on physical appearance, money, or social class. Character, loyalty, kindness, patience, and the fear of God are what truly sustain relationships and marriages. Sometimes God allows heartbreak not to destroy us, but to redirect us toward a greater purpose. Obinna's pain became the beginning of his elevation. What people reject today, God can honor tomorrow. If you are helping someone genuinely and they repay you with pain, do not allow bitterness to consume your heart. Leave everything to God. The God who sees sacrifices done in secret has a way of rewarding people beyond human imagination. The Bible says, "A man's gift maketh room for him and bringeth him before great men." Obinna remained hardworking despite his pain, and God remembered him at the right time. May we never betray people who sincerely stand by us in difficult times. And may God bless every good hearted person watching this story today. Thank you all for watching. Please, what do you think about Amaka's decision? Did Obinna do too much for love? And if you were in his position, would you forgive and accept her back? Please share your opinion in the comment section because I would really love to hear from you. Please, if this story touched your heart, do not forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you will not miss our next powerful and emotional stories inspired by real life experiences across Africa. Also, share this video with somebody out there because one story can teach a lesson that advice may never teach. Thank you for watching. God bless you all and see you all again in the next story. Love you. Bye bye. Mwah.